Hello again. Now, Russia's foreign minister says that Moscow, Tehran and Ankara have come up with a plan that aims to improve the situation in war-torn Syria. He added that the measures are intended to help bring about what he called, quote, the revival of the political process to end the Syrian conflict. The absence, though, of the United States at the negotiating table has prompted some uncomfortable questions for the US State Department.
Mr. Kerry doesn't see it as a snub.
No, the Secretary doesn't see this as a snub at all. It's not like it was done in secret. The Secretary doesn't take it as a snub.
Is it a snub from, or is it something to do with the transition government here?
Look, on the issue of snub, we've talked about this. I don't want to revisit the same issue. I think we've exasperated that one, exhausted that one, excuse me. Exasperate is probably my way of describing it.
Murad Gazdiev now looks at the influence of the alliance, as well as media coverage too of the killing of the Russian ambassador.
The murder of an ambassador is a political sin, anathema, taboo. It cannot be justified. Still, didn't stop the media from trying.
One thing is already clear. This assassination is blowback for Russian involvement in the Syrian civil war.
It does appear from all of the reports that we're putting together that this was connected to Syria, that this was some kind of an act of vengeance for Russia's involvement.
And not a word about the daily shelling and killing committed by militants in Aleppo. Still, that was mild. A board member of Al Jazeera, a network that openly backs rebels, went even further in a series of tweets.
The ambassador was at the exhibition, which was open to everyone. Turkey shouldn't be embarrassed because of this act. Russia deserves the worst. It was a human response to Russian barbarism in Syria. The scene will be repeated with the killing of ambassadors to other countries sympathetic with Russian criminality in Aleppo.
The ambassador she is talking about played a critical part in securing the evacuation of Aleppo rebels, saving thousands of lives. But no, the pundits don't care. This US publication compared him to a Nazi, said the murder was justified, and questioned why no one killed him sooner. After all, Washington's got a right to be worried. Its power in Syria is waning.
Iran, Russia and Turkey are ready to contribute to the agreement between the Syrian government and the opposition and to act as its guarantors.
Russia, Iran and Turkey, the three countries that hold the aces in Syria, the trio that resolved the humanitarian catastrophe in Aleppo.
Iran, Russia and Turkey have been able in the past 5 days to help evacuate innocent civilians from Aleppo, as well as enable the terrorist groups to leave the city.
They are the triumvirate that wield the most power over both Assad and the rebels.
It's not clear what all the motives, at least from the public material of the murderer, were, whether it was thought out as intending to destabilize relations.
It didn't work. The assassination only strengthened the trio's resolve. And if they start working together, what need is there of the US or Europe?
So Mr. Kerry doesn't see it as a snub.
No, the Secretary doesn't see this as a snub at all.
Well, does he not at least feel the U.S. is being sidelined, if not excluded, from what was something the U.S. was leading on?
We are not excluded.
Right now, this leadership that you're speaking of is all past tense. Is that not true?
I would disagree.
They don't seem to want him to be involved.
Well, they can speak for who they want involved or not. I mean, we recognize that we weren't invited, that this was between Russia, Turkey and Iran.
The US and Europe spent billions funding the rebels, and yet could not persuade them to abide by any ceasefire or disentangle themselves from Al-Qaeda. Not even the UN's incessant calls for peace made any difference.
I think I lost my voice urging Mr. Staffan de Mistura to stop sabotaging political negotiations.
What the US, Europe and the UN could not achieve for years, a ceasefire followed by a tangible result, was done in mere days by Russia, Turkey and Iran. Herein lays the question. What do they need the West for? Murad Gazdiev, RT.
Well, as a reminder that the Syrian conflict is far from over, Christmas celebrations in the newly liberated part of Aleppo were shaken when a bomb fell close to crowds enjoying festivities there. Lizzie Phelan witnessed the blast.
For the last few hours, this square in Aleppo has been packed with people coming for the first celebrations for Christmas. But just a few minutes ago, an explosion went off just a few meters away. Luckily, nobody has been hurt, but it landed extremely close to hundreds and hundreds of people that have gathered here for Christmas, the first Christmas celebrations in Aleppo. We're not sure yet if it was a missile that was fired towards this area or if it was some kind of IED, but it seems clear that it was designed to target this huge gathering of people celebrating Christmas, but it's also somewhat turned into a victory celebration, people chanting and singing for the Syrian army, which has retaken almost the entire city of Aleppo. When that explosion went off, people dispersed from this square in panic, but as you can see, just a few minutes later, it's filling up again, people determined to continue their celebrations tonight.
Now, a priest from the UK has been so frustrated with the Western media's coverage of Aleppo that he travelled to Syria himself. He spoke to RT afterwards about his experiences.
The reason for this visit was to go and listen to the voices, to see what's really going on. The message is very, very one-sided. I mean, almost exclusively we're hearing from so-called rebel sources within East Aleppo. And I had the opportunity to go independently and, of course, at my own expense, to go and see for myself and to see meet the people on the ground and listen to the voices on the ground. They're coming with horrific stories of what they've been through and stories that actually contradict the main narrative that we're hearing here. Many stories of murder by the terrorists, rape, imprisonment, execution of people who show any sort of support for the government, withholding of food, withholding of medical aid. I mean, we have people who had asked for some medical aid and 3-4 years had not been given it. And the stories are just horrific, and they're delighted to come out. I mean, they were saying, thank God, we're free and we can start trying to live our lives again. You know, one thing we haven't been doing, the media has not been doing, is listen to the people of Syria themselves. Listen to the people from inside Syria. We haven't been doing that. Stop supporting terrorism. Nobody in Syria wants this war to continue, and supporting terrorism is helping it to continue. And talk to all parties, and that includes the government. You know, those three things we've really got to start doing in the West.
From the real Syria to a fake one, because an Egyptian filmmaker has been charged with spreading false information after he was caught staging pictures to show wounded children in Aleppo to spread on social media. Fake news has been in the limelight recently, and some reports do appear to be so real the only way to prove they are false is by seeing the film crew's photos from behind the scenes. We looked at some of the recent stories that turned out to be a hoax.
Allah Akbar! Allah Akbar! Allah Akbar! Allah Akbar! اللحظات الأولى لاستهداف الحرب بلدة.
Je vais créer le blog Geiger and the Damascus. Tout ce qui se passe en Syrie, je pense qu'il faut quand même que j'en parle, etc. Et moi,
I became aware of Amina just because there was press coverage, but I didn't pay close attention to it until Amina was kidnapped.
I just went, my God, this is fiction.
motivation is to mobilize the Arab world, the public opinion, against Syria and Russia and Iran. But it seems it hasn't any success, or very few actually success. Now the Syrian people start to wake up from this misleading reports. So I think the situation is changing rapidly. Now a lot of Syrians are turning against the United States, European, who actually put them in this dreadful situation and this destruction of their country and the death of their own people.
To Ukraine now, and one of the most popular pilgrimage sites in Judaism has been vandalised. The perpetrators threw a pig's head on the floor and defaced the tomb of the Rabbi Nachman with fake blood. They also sprayed worshippers with tear gas before fleeing the scene. 2 Israeli nationals were taken to hospital as a result. No one has been apprehended as yet for the assault. That's how the news looks here on RT for the moment. We'll have more for you in half an hour's time. Before that, though, it's Peter Lavelle on the Crosstalk panel, and they discuss the assassination of the Russian ambassador in Turkey.